Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the March 26th Valley View School Board meeting. We ask you all rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And while you're up, turn your cell phones off or turn off the ringer. Remember, Zach, if you would. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Member Campbell, the board affirmation statement, if you would, please.
Our mission is to empower all learners to be college and career ready and to develop, grow, and achieve as productive citizens.
Thank you. Dr. Mitchum, the agenda, if you would, please, sir.
Yes, Mr. President. I'd like to ask that the board approve the agenda as presented.
Motion?
Second.
Motion and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Consent agenda items. Dr. Mitchum.
Yes, Mr. Quigley. I'd like to ask the board to approve consent agenda items 5.1 through 5.5. 5.1 board meeting minutes for 3/12/18. 5.2 executive session meeting minutes for 3/12/18. 5.3 gifts for Irene King Elementary and Independence Elementary Schools. 5.4 resolution number 1811, semi-annual review of executive session minutes to determine needs for continued confidential treatment and authorization for destruction of executive session tapes more than 18 months old. And 5.5 trips for Lukanzik Middle School and Romeoville High School.
So moved. Second.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
No.
Member Peril?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Student and staff recognition, Pillars of Valley View. Who's up? I don't have a sheet.
First up, Principal Warpinski from B.J. Ward Elementary School.
Good evening, President Quigley, members of the board, Dr. Mitchum, senior leadership, and guests. I am Ted Warpinski, along with Sue Padilla, the proud administrators of B.J. Ward Elementary School, with our pillar, Ms. Paige Treat. Ms. Treat is our second grade bilingual teacher. She covers all facets of what the word means to be a pillar, from an innovative and creative classroom teacher to taking the lead as our grade level leader. She can be found in the cafeteria having lunch with her students, sharing stories. She's also presented to our BIT team and faculty on the learning progressions and the benefits of student learning success. She has served for 7 years as our teacher PTO liaison. She's also been a moving billboard for us for the 5 Essentials survey over the years, where she has agreed to get dressed up in a little billboard, if you will, that represents 5 Essentials, and to get parents involved and interested because they just love to ask her what she's doing. She talks about 5 Essentials, and we get them to do a survey. It works for us. So she's willing to do whatever it takes. She's also the facilitator and director of our K-5 Drama Club, performing plays for our staff and students for the past 5 years. Thank you, Ms. Treat, for being such a great role model to both our staff and students. Congratulations.
Jim?
Next, we have Principal Jody Ellis from R.C. Hill Elementary School.
Good evening. We're here with Rebecca, and she's going to introduce our pillar for the evening.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Batista, music teacher at Jonas Salk and Tibbet Elementary Schools. I am honored to present this pillar on behalf of the Board of Education and the administration at Valley View School District and Jody Ellis, along with our coordinator, Tammy Kahn. David Rice, better known as Dave Rice in our district by his colleagues and friends, started his career 23 years ago here at Valley View School District at R.C. Hill and Irene King. He started in the year of 1994 when his former principal, Bill Jenkins, hired him to teach music here. Dave never originally planned on teaching music in a public school. He was kind of like Mr. Holland's Opus, if you've ever seen the movie, where he was the gigger, the musician, the artist, and then he fell in love with teaching. It has become his passion and his love and his inspiration. Not only has it been his inspiration and has he inspired others, but I think he's also put a big influence within our community and within all of our students over the generations. As you can see, there are many people here in the audience of our school board meeting that he's taught in the past or in the present. And outside of teaching, he is also known for many of his arrangements. If you can see Dave anywhere, he performs in over 10 different bands and arranges music all over and runs sound in many different facilities. He's arranged over 15 or more pieces for our students here in Valley View School District, and I've had the honor to perform many of them with him and work on some in the studio with him, as well as preparing all of our para and common assessments in the recording studio that are professionally recorded that you will not find in any curriculum book except VVSD. So thank you, Dave Rice, for everything you've done for our students and our school district. One last thing Dave has said, he does have a quote that he said is, when asked what his philosophy and advice is for students in the future and our youth, is don't ever give up. You never fully arrive. You have moments that you take your breath away, but you're always learning, problem solving, improving your art. And music, it's part of the nature of the beast. His favorite quote comes from Franz Schubert. Some people come into our lives, leave footprints in our hearts, and we are never the same again. Dave has definitely touched our hearts and will be greatly missed upon his retirement, but never forgotten. It's not goodbye, but we will definitely see you again in a future gig. Congrats, Dave Rice.
Can I say a thank you? Can I say a quick thank you? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If I can take just a minute to say a couple thanks. Members of the school board, thank you. Dr. Mitchum, thank you. Thank you, Rebecca, Tammy, Adam Herder, Miss Ellis, and Miss Nigro, and Miss Vasek, and Miss Chow, who are here, and guests. I'm honored and humbled to think that among all my colleagues that they would consider me for this award. I'm grateful to Valley View for supporting music in our schools for the kids and for the years that you've employed me. Our curriculum is very rigorous thanks to the great team of elementary teachers that we had led by Rebecca. And we have presented music in such a way that neighboring districts have envied us. I remember I was asked to record some music for one of the surrounding districts for their Christmas program, and the lady that was the teacher came over into the studio, and so we were recording the music, and she said, "So what do you do in your curriculum?" And I said, "Well, units 1 and 3, we teach about note values, quarter notes, 16th notes, subdivision, measures. We use math manipulatives to teach music. And then we teach about composers, and we teach about music history, and we teach about different genres of music, and we teach about reading and repeat signs and codas and how to navigate around in music." And she went, "I need to go through your music program." And I feel that the music has enriched the lives of our students here. And exposure to the arts not only teaches children to appreciate the arts, but also to complete a project. It helps them to problem solve, to assess themselves, which I've been really big on with the kids, you know. Assess yourselves continually and constantly improve themselves. And one of my favorite experiences was when the first time we ever performed Sarajevo at Romeoville High School for the holiday concert for Irene King. And the place was packed, and we started off the slow intro. If you don't know Sarajevo, YouTube it tonight. But it's a very, very hard piece, way too hard for elementary. So we started practicing in August, and so here comes the concert, and we started it off, and the parents were, the look on their face was, they can't be doing this version. And as soon as we started with the whole rock section in the middle, their jaws dropped, and when we finished, they jumped up on their feet. And it was one of the greatest experiences in my life. I would advocate and urge us to consider expanding music to a full-year curriculum in the elementary school to further enrich the lives of our children. And it's very bittersweet to finish my career here in Valley View with R.C. Hill and Irene King. I will miss the wonderful teachers, the wonderful principals and assistant principals that I've had the privilege to work with, and the administrators. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Congratulations again.
Thanks.
Did they get a picture?
Oh.
Are they done?
Yeah. My kids are going to give you a little concert. So if I could please have Kate Nepomuceno, James Estrada, and Arav Naik. We're going to do a little 3-minute.
Right up here, guys, right in the front by the microphone. Don't look at yourself on TV, it'll just make you nervous.
Ready, guys?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys don't have to stay. I know you got homework. And Mr. Rice, you could not be more accurate. Music is the gift of life. You can do this when you're 6, and you can do it when you're 76. So thank you very much for what you've done for this district. Moving down the agenda, State Wrestling Tournament Qualifiers, IESA. Come on up, wrestlers. Dr. Woods, if you would.
So I have the privilege of following that. It has to be the best pillar presentation I've seen since I've been in Valley View. It's fantastic.
Sing.
Wow. No, you don't want to hear that. So to members of the board, Board President Steve Quigley, senior leadership, Superintendent Dr. Mitchum, and our school community, I'm Dr. Wood, principal of Brooks Middle School. And on behalf of the middle school principals and their designees, I would like to first congratulate all of our student athletes, but I also like to thank you for providing this opportunity to recognize our middle school IESA state qualifiers for wrestling. It has been said that wrestling is one of the toughest sports to compete in. During each match, athletes give their all to succeed. Tonight's recognition serves as a testimony to the hard work, effort, and determination each wrestler has demonstrated over the course of the season. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Pileggi and Officer Thomas, both coaches extraordinaire, to you to recognize the first set of student athletes from Brooks Middle School. They will be followed by coaches from AVM, Humphrey, Jane Addams, and Lacanzic. And I also like to point out that Officer Thomas was recognized as the Bolingbrook Police Officer of the Year, so we are very fortunate to have him.
First off, I'd like to recognize Alex McKay. He's been with the program for 3 years. During his first 2 years with the team, Alex split his wrestling matches between JV and stepping up when needed to fill in varsity level. His record in those 2 years, were not much over 500. It was his 8th grade, his 3rd and final year with the team, that Alex might say grew into his role as a varsity wrestler. No, not his size. He did not grow much, but his strength, his determination and knowledge of wrestling, and most characteristic of Alex, his heart. After Alex grabbed a hold of his opponent, they soon knew they were in for a match. His record jumped from a mere 500 wrestler to over 25 wins with only 7 losses. And we're here today to recognize his biggest accomplishment as a state qualifier. Alex will be remembered by me and by his coaches and most people, everyone that attended a Brooks wrestling match, as the wrestler not only shook your hand, but also gave you one big, great hug, win or lose. Now, to me, that was the epitome of sportsmanship. Alex McKay. My next wrestler I'd like to introduce you to is D'Angelo Fernandez. His story with Brooks reminds me of the athlete story you hear on TV at the Olympics. The athlete gets injured over the season and is done. Well, that happened for D'Angelo 6th grade and then again in 7th. Along came 8th grade. D'Angelo was not going to let his past injuries deter him from his love for the sport and a dream of making it to state. As the season went on, and a few close calls, and the thought of state grew. Fast forward, we're here today to recognize the accomplishments of his dream. He made it to state as a qualifier. That could have been enough, but I do want to let you know there was more. In the second round, he was to face the most talked of person in state meet, the state champ. He defeated him. Little did that wrestler know he had to meet up with him. Again, that could have been enough. His second match, he was to meet the second best state wrestler. And as you know the story is, he defeated him. In the end, the tank was a little bit depleted. D'Angelo wound up as the 6th best wrestler in the state of Illinois. I want to congratulate D'Angelo Fernandez. Hey.
Just one quick thing about D'Angelo. It was a very long weekend of wrestling, and he was definitely exhausted on Saturday. But when I asked him what he intended on doing for the rest of the day, he says, Coach, I got to go do homework. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Lukansic wrestling team had a lot to be proud of this season. Along with 3 state qualifiers that I'm about to introduce, we advanced 8 wrestlers to the sectional tournament and were able to earn a 14-6 dual meet record as a team. The 3 gentlemen I'll be introducing tonight had a large part of our team's success, but I cannot speak enough for both our coaching staff and the incredibly supportive families of the student athletes that we were fortunate enough to work with. So without further hesitation, our first state qualifier, and I'm going to have him step up here so everybody can see him, is Mr. Brian Farley. Brian is a 6th grade wrestler. He wrestled both at 65 pounds and 70 pounds this year. He had to work towards the success this season. He had a record of 23-10. Don't let his small stature fool you. This young man is a gamer. Brian was always exciting to watch wrestle because he was never out in a match. He had several come from behind, big wins this season. You could literally see him improve in every match. He was our most outstanding wrestler this year, finished 2nd place at the sectionals, and was 1 match away from placing at the state tournament. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Farley. Our next state qualifier is an 8th grader who wrestled at 185 pounds. I'm going to have him step forward as well. This young man had very few wins that came easy this year. He is the true definition of grit. Finishing the regular season with a 22-10 record, he battled through both regionals and sectionals to become a state qualifier. And for what he may have given up in technique, he made up for in his will to win. He was one of the hardest workers in the practice room, and it paid him dividends, peaking at the right time in his season, Mr. Diego Martinez. Last but definitely not least, our last state qualifier this year is an 8th grader who held a record of 28-3 in the regular season at 119 pounds. He is a 3-year wrestler for Lukansic, which earned him the prestigious Ironman Award. He placed 2nd in an extremely tough sectionals at his weight class. He was our MVP, earning 15 wins for fall for a total of 90 team points. He's the type of student athlete who constantly looks for ways to improve and has an incredible character for a young man. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sergio Don Diego.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Clark. I'm one of the wrestling coaches at Humphrey Middle School. First, we'd like to thank the school board and senior leadership for this recognition, and also acknowledge, all the staff, the teachers at Humphrey that really helped support the students throughout the season. Notably, Mr. Principal Laverty, our athletic director, Ms. Fagan, all the other coaches that could not be here tonight, Coach Hernandez, Coach Hart, a lot of our former wrestlers who come back from BHS and the Raiders to help support these two young gentlemen, and most importantly, the parents. The parents were there every night, every time we had a tournament to help pick up these kids, to help wash up their gear and their equipment to make sure that they were clean for every match, that kept them fed, that really made sure that they were successful throughout the season. So first, Elliot O'Brien was our first wrestler. He was a state qualifier. He placed third at regionals, and he placed third at sectionals. He also had the second highest GPA on our team throughout the entire season. He was a 3-year wrestler. It's a little bittersweet to lose Elliot. His family has a 10-year dynasty at Humphrey. So it'll be the first time in 10 years that O'Brien is not on the wrestling team. So it'll be sad to see him go, but it'll be an honor to work with him next year at Bolingbrook High School. We know we'll come back and continue to honor the school and to keep embodying all the tools that made him an excellent student athlete. So Elliot O'Brien. Our second wrestler, Anthony Pantoja. He was also a 3-year wrestler for Humphrey. His first year was at Jane Addams, and he spent the last 2 years with us. There was nobody on our team that worked harder than Anthony. Throughout the last 2 years, he completely transformed himself as a wrestler. He was wrestling the adults. He was wrestling our former Marine, Coach Wilder, who would come back and wrestle with us, often throwing him around during practice. There was no time throughout the season that Anthony didn't consistently battle. He was also an excellent athlete and student, constantly embodied what it meant to be a wrestler at Humphrey. He was a 2-year captain for us as well. It'll be sad to see him go, but we do have his younger brother, Andy, who will be with us again next year. So hopefully he can kind of carry that spirit on along with us. So, Anthony Pantoja, it's an honor to coach you and to work with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Art Tansel, wrestling coach at Jane Addams. I want to give a big shout out to our administration at Jane Addams, who's always been supportive of our program as we've been rebuilding. It's with honor that I am before you today, and I sing high praises of the 2 students who stand next to me, because they define what Jane Addams is all about: grit. Never giving up and persevering are 2 of the qualities that we at Jane Addams try to strive and ingrain in our students. Both apply to Eric and Frank. Frank started wrestling for Jane Addams in 6th grade. He and actually Tony, who was just mentioned, were both started with us in 6th grade. And Frank has always been willing to go the extra mile, both in his studies and on the mat. Eric joined us this year for the first time as an 8th grader, and he never gave up. It's been an honor to coach them. They helped our team to a 14-4 season, and we wish them great success in their future journeys, both in the classroom, on the mat, and in their lives. Gentlemen, thank you.
Let's have another round of applause for all of our qualifiers.
I hate it when the wrestling guys come because it reminds me that I wrestled 112 as a freshman. Let's let that soak in for a minute. Congratulations. And parents, and anytime we have state qualifiers for anything, I always say this, because of my day job, I have the opportunity to travel around state quite a bit. And I'm always very, very pleased when people who I randomly know say, oh yeah, my kid was in state qualifying and all these kids from Valley View were down there, and they were well behaved, they're respectful, they honor the sport, whatever the sport is, doesn't matter. I've heard this time and time again, and I know that comes from the parents, it comes from the coaches and the kids themselves, but they always represent the school district when they go to these state qualifying tournaments, and I just want to let that be known, and I will always say that, and I want to thank you guys for representing us properly, and thank you, coaches. Who's up next? Dance, Rob Rose and the dance team. Rob is not part of the dance team. Although, that's
Steve,
right.
I can dance with the best of them.
Knock a good polka out whenever, right?
Good evening, members of the community and guests. President Quigley, members of the board, Dr. Mitchum, senior leadership. My name is Rob Rose. I'm the assistant principal for athletics and activities at Bolingbrook High School. First, I'd like to congratulate our pillars, also the best pillar presentation I've ever seen since I've been here, and also our state qualifiers for wrestling throughout the district. I have the honor of introducing some very hardworking young men and women who are part of our competitive dance team, who worked hard to get to the IDTA state finals this year in Springfield. I know our coaches worked very hard. I'm extremely proud of our student athletes. I know the time that they put in, just like the rest of our students, and I'm thankful that they have also represented Bolingbrook High School and the athletics department in a positive way. So without further ado, I will introduce Coach Brandy Kissy, our head coach for competitive dance.
All right, good evening. My name is Brandy Kissany. I'm the varsity competitive dance coach at Bolingbrook High School. I first want to thank Dr. Mitchum, the board, Dr. Paskevich, and Mr. Rose for having us tonight. This season was very successful for us. The varsity team qualified twice at our regional competitions for the IDTA state competition. And we also qualified our first soloist. On February 9th, Nagazi Ide competed as a soloist at the state competition, and she took 8th in her category. The team competed on the 10th, and they competed in the hip-hop AAA category, and they took home 3rd place. Overall, Overall, it was a very successful season. They've been working on the competition routine that they competed since June, so they had been practicing. Each competition, they took what the judges had given them, and they just improved on the dance, and it ended up paying off in the end. We are missing quite a few of our members tonight for work, studying for AP tests, or just previous commitments, so I will still name them, but I will also recognize the ones that are here. So we have Amber Armstrong, Autumn Armstrong, Georgia A. Samoa, Tiana Barr, Raja Brown, Jay Campbell, Nagazi Ide, Kylie McFadden, Giante Page, and then Jordan Sharber. Thank you very much.
And now I'll introduce our JV competitive dance coach, Kim McElroy.
Good evening. I would like to thank our superintendent, Dr. Mitchum, senior leadership, and the board for recognizing our JV state team. We won state for a second year for IDTA. Also want to thank Rob Rose, our athletic director, for always supporting us, and Dr. Jason Paskevich, our principal, for his support as well. I want to thank the parents for providing food for the students, for transporting them to early practices and late night practices. We couldn't have done it without our parents. Also want to thank the varsity coach, Coach Kissy, for her guidance and support. And I want to thank the entire team, the varsity team and the JV team, for their dedication and support in helping us have this two-peat or second win. So I'm very proud of them. Okay. The first student I want to recognize is Jamal Crockett. He's a senior on the team, always receptive to feedback, and he was also a rising star. Thank you, Jamal. Next, I would like to thank Brooklyn Douglas for being on the team. We want to thank her for her creativity. The judges said she had the best facials throughout the season, so thank you so much, Brooklyn. Next, I want to thank LaDeja Kimbrough. She's a team captain. I want to thank her for her hard work and dedication and long hours she put in making the team a success. Next, I'd like to thank Brianne Moore for her perseverance, her kindness, being a team player, bringing the team together in unity. Thank you so much, Brianne. Next, I would like to thank Janaea Sanders for being on the team. Thank you for her willingness to learn, and also she practiced through sickness, having to go to the doctor several times. So thank you so much for your perseverance, Janaea. Next is Cameron Sharber. She is the true definition of a student athlete, always receptive to feedback and a very beneficial member of the team. The next person I'd like to thank is Jessie Tepe. She actually did not make the team, and then she called us up and said, you know, you made a mistake, you didn't put me on the team. So I said, well, come through the summer, come and practice, let's see what you're made of. And it was one of the best decisions I've made, putting her on the team. So thank you, Jessie. Next, I'd like to thank Brianna Weathers. She is our team MVP and also a captain. She's been with me for the last 2 years, and I appreciate her so much, and her family. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Tierney Wright for being on the team. She's also a team captain and also had the highest GPA for the team. And lastly, I want to thank my volunteer coach right here. Thank you so much. I'm so out of breath. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Kiana, I'm sorry. Come on up. Thank you for being on the team.
I think that's it. Liaison reports, high school liaison reports. Anybody here from Romeoville? Come on down.
Good evening,
Ladies.
everybody. Oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
Cut you off. Good evening, everybody. My name is Brianna Sanchez, and we're going to be updating you guys on some current events down at Romeoville. So this month has been an exciting one in our house. First of all, we would like to thank our administration for working with our ideas, wow, I can't talk, to create a peaceful gathering for our staff and students to bring forth the idea that our house stands united. Throughout the week of March 12th through the 16th, we had correlating spirit days to the concept that encouraged students to do random acts of kindness. On Wednesday, our plans did not go as hoped, but instead we were able to still come together in the gym for 17 minutes of silence. We appreciate our administration for holding our safety to high importance, especially in times like these. This was a heartwarming experience and one a lot of us will never forget. On Friday, parents surprised our students with small gift bags and positive notes to tie off the week. So we would also like to send our thanks out to the parents who participated. It was an unforgettable week of unity and kindness, kicking off the idea that this is not a moment, but this is a movement. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Allie Hayes. On March 18th, Bus Buddies had their annual Ulta event, which was a huge success. Ulta comes in and donates boatloads of makeup, hair, and skin and nail products, which are then used to give participants makeovers from the Ulta volunteers. A lot of hard work goes into making this day possible, but it's worth every penny and second when you see the smiles on the kids' faces. We'd also like to thank Ulta and our Mayor John Nowak for attending. Our winter sports and clubs have enjoyed many positive endings to the season. Two of our varsity wrestlers, seniors Andreas Jara and Ethan Spaniak, made it to sectionals. One of our DECA teams placed top in the state and are now going to nationals in April for their business growth plan. Congratulations to Eric Wilhoit, Sharaf Abdulab, and Jacob Salvar on this accomplishment. We would also like to congratulate our indoor track team on their accomplishments this season. Kanaya Rush, Xavier Jones, Sir Muhammad, Amir Buchanan, and Joe Ocheri attended indoor state for track. Our boys powerlifting team also took home first place and are now qualified for state.
Hi, I'm Nyana Allen. A new tradition that we started last spring at the Teacher Institute, when our administrators invited our students to present a session to our staff, the tradition continued this year with 2 groups of students presenting. The MCJROTC program presented an informational session on their program, and a group of students presented on their culture and diversity at RHS. Both sessions were well received by staff, and the students also enjoyed the experience. Our spring sports are also underway. We are excited to see what the season holds. Our house is also preparing our students for the upcoming SATs and AP tests, with class lessons and before and after school study and practice sessions. That is all we have for you tonight. Thank you so much for your time, and we will see you next month.
Thank you, ladies. BHS, any report tonight? There they are, front row.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board and our community. My name is Kazim Niaz, and on behalf of the Bolingbrook High School student body, I would like to share some things we have observed. We are well underway to the end of the school year, and BHS students have already made their plans to finish strong, which we've seen a pattern. With all of the resources they have been provided, such as our Chromebooks and various teacher resources, they are able to take advantage of all opportunities that surround them. Some students have brought up the issue regarding printing on their Chromebooks. In order to print a Chromebook, the procedure is that students would have to log on to a different computer, one that is capable of having Windows, and they would have to log on to Google in order to print. So that takes up it's a time-consuming issue. But we asked the board and tech departments to help us with the matter so that students are able to have full accessibility to their Chromebooks. And on a different note, I would like to say that the SAT is around on the corner, coming up on April 24th. And as well, AP exams will be held in May, and we have about 1,025 students already registered for a total of 1,650 exams, which we've seen an increase. The exams are doubled since last year. With that in mind, I would like to ask if there are any questions.
I got nothing. I actually have a question. I'm sure you've probably not taken the SAT nor the ACT, correct?
I'm taking the SAT, that's correct.
So you have taken the SAT?
Not yet. I'm going to take it in April.
Right. I was just kind of curious if you had a preference. But that's a question for another day. So after you take it, are you going to take the ACT at some point?
I'm probably going to take the SAT only at this point.
Okay.
But probably not the ACT.
Just kind of curious. Thanks.
Yep, of course. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Eduardo Palma, and my presentation for tonight will be one of appreciation of people within our school at BHS. There will be 2 things I will give tonight. First is a bacon-loving man by the name of Mr. Rendy, an economics teacher at BHS who delivers one of the most practical methods of teaching into the classroom and effectively demonstrates how classroom knowledge relates to the real world. In Mr. Rendy's class, it isn't as simple as having charts and graphs to show how supply and demand works. It is rather unique. Your desk is your house. Points and dollars make up the classroom currency. There's a specific roles in the classroom that represent actual jobs in real life, such as lawyers and entrepreneurs. This miniature economy is then explained by Mr. Rendy, who often becomes a storyteller and relates his personal experiences to economic principles. Basically, the teachings of economics impact us at every second of our lives, and I thank him for teaching us that principle. I thank Mr. Rendy, as he has proven that economics is the reality of life, whether you like it or not. Apart from recognizing Mr. Rendy as an insightful educator, I also must express a sincere thank you to all the staff and students at BHS and RHS who respected the students who participated in the school walkouts and rallies. in honor of the recent tragedy at Parkland. Students vary by race and culture, but we also vary by ideals, and I am appreciative of all who respected the students who participated in a national event. Both Mr. Rendy and the students who expressed with respect and honor are as a result of what our high school lives by: honor Bolingbrook and honor the Raiders. Thank you all for your attention and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, gentlemen. Audience participation, is anybody who wishes to address the board this evening? Oh, did I skip something? Oh, I'm sorry. Board liaison reports. Hang on. Hang on. Any board liaison reports from my right? Member Campbell.
Yes, I attended
Button. There you go.
the Three Rivers dinner meeting, spring dinner meeting, and at this presentation, Jim Burkett, and I know some of the board members have heard his lecture, and it was the art of school boarding, and he said it's an art instead of a science. But just some of the highlights of that was the role of the superintendent and the role of the board. The superintendent should serve as the chief executive officer, recommend applicants for appointment, promote a strong staff development, interpret needs and make recommendations to improve education, implement board decisions and policy, manage the fiscal and administrative operation of the school district, and the board should govern the school district, continue to shape a mutual understanding of the purposes of the school district with the community, communicate the goals and monitor the performance of the district, select the superintendent, oversee basic legal and ethical standards and responsibility, analyze its own performance, was just some of the highlights of that. And also to remind us that we should be operating under the code of conduct that is given to the boards, or it's posted, should be somewhere on our walls, by the Illinois Association of Schools. Last but not least, a board has power, a board member has none. There's no I in team, and there's no I in board. And his presentation is on the website. And also at that meeting, remember, Diane was not able to attend, but she received a certificate, and it reads, "Dear Diane, the Three Rivers Division of the Illinois Association of School Boards met and covered a wide array of informational issues. A portion of the meeting was designated to give you recognition for your participation in the ISB Delegate Assembly. As you know, the ISB Delegate Assembly is one of the most important obligations for members of our association. This is the process that gives you and all the IASB members a voice in setting the direction of the association. Even with your busy schedule at the conference, you made the extra effort to attend the Delegate Assembly and have your voice heard. Please find enclosed a certificate of appreciation for your involvement in this important process. It is intended to recognize you for your contribution in formulating the policies by which this association is governed." So let's give Diane a round of applause.
Any from my left?
I have one. March 13th, we had a teacher appreciation meeting. We have them monthly. Hopefully soon we'll start appreciating the teachers. I'm only kidding. We truly do appreciate the teachers, and we want to start showing even more so for everything that they do, the hours they put in, the hard work that they put in. Many of you know that they sit at every one of their kids' games grading papers. Okay, they watch their kid wrestle, and then they grade papers. And they watch their kid do tennis, and they grade papers. So the hours they put in and the hard work that they put in is truly appreciated.
Come on down.
Good evening, Board of Education, Senior Leadership, Dr. Mitchum. I don't know if this is the right time to address issues that were brought forth to the board on February 26th. Just to introduce myself, I'm Claudine Sharko. I'm the Valley View Council President. I'm an Illinois State Board Education Committee member and an 18-year veteran teacher at Humphrey Middle School. In many meetings that I've had with the district, I hear the verbiage, what is best for kids? You, as the Board of Education, are the highest authority figure as it comes to VVSD. You ran for office. You were chosen by election to represent the interests of the community, parents, students, and taxpayers. I would like to address 3 issues that were recently brought to the board to vote, but I would be remiss as a union president and a teacher for 18 years in this district if I didn't voice my concerns. While I understand the role of administrators is to present to you data, numbers, and money, I think there is another side to this story that I would like you to see. And as the union president, I would like to give you this perspective. The first is LLI, which was Leveled Literacy Intervention that was implemented over 1 year ago. And 5 FTEs were hired, I believe at the cost of $15,000. The students in these classes are below college and career readiness levels and were removed from their social studies courses this year. Now, I have a classroom right next door to one of these programs, and I see these kids get one-on-one direct instruction, small group settings, lively, engaging discussions and growth that is seen every day with these kids. Kids who come in 4 grade levels behind in their reading, and they are greeted by caring, loving teachers who are now without a job after 1 year or less than 6 months to analyze data on a data-driven district that the program has now been pulled and now 5 teachers are without a job. My next issue is a reading specialist. Now, I thought I was under the standing that when you are presented an information report, aren't you supposed to be presented with the information first before it goes to vote? Is that board policy? Okay. So after 1 year of the push-in model, which has shown significant growth, there has been a major overhaul of the restructuring of the program. I would like you to hear from Renee Calabrese. She is a 1st grade teacher at RC Hill. She is our union secretary and by far one of the best educators we have in Valley View. And I would like to hear the impact from the classroom teacher as what this restructuring has done to our classrooms. So if you don't mind, if I can have Renee speak at this time.
Thank you. I am here just to speak on the impact of the reading specialists that they've had on me as a classroom teacher and on my students. I've had the privilege in this district for the last 11 years to work with some of the best reading specialists that this district has. They have served many of my students over the years and provided unconditional support to me as a classroom teacher. These specialists have supported the most high-risk students to the highest achieving students, day in and day out. With the Common Core rigorous expectations, you are all aware of the challenge within itself for teachers to meet these expectations. So when you have students that come in years behind expectations or years ahead of these expectations, we rely on these specialists to help us fill these gaps on a daily basis. I would not have been able to get my students anywhere near close to grade level expectations without these teachers. Whether they are pushing into the classroom or pulling out, I have seen the benefits of both over the years. Pull-out strategies may not be best practice, but at a primary level, it is extremely necessary to provide those additional supports. We have students across this district that are coming in lower and lower every single year. They are years behind grade level expectations, and if you don't think that those 4 reading specialists that I've had the privilege to work with have had anything to do with me getting my students above grade level expectations by the time they leave me, you're wrong. This district has asked for the shift in this position to provide more universal supports in the classroom. I, for one, am not a teacher that needs that universal support. But now I'm going to find myself at a loss when I won't have access to any support moving forward next year. In a classroom with over 800 students and where we've been allocated 2 new interventionists and enrichment coordinators, how am I supposed to get that support? If you think that 2 coordinators are going to be able to support a building of that size, I can assure you it's not possible. Are they enriching our highest students, or are they hired to provide interventions for the lowest students? When will they do this? How often will they be able to come into the classrooms, and what is this going to look like? I don't think that senior leadership or any member of this board knows exactly what this is going to look like and how support is going to be provided for the teachers. All I know is that for over the last 4 years, when I go in as a grade level rep to do block scheduling for elementary teachers, our schedules are created around the reading specialists when they can meet all of the needs of our grade level. If that doesn't speak volumes to you on how impactful that they have been in the elementary building, then I don't know what does. I understand you have looked at longitudinal data and you have felt that the scores have not increased with these 52 reading specialists over the years, but again, you've been given one set of specific data to look at. The bottom line is that my students would not have met grade level expectations if it would not have been for these reading teachers. I now, an 11-year veteran teacher, find myself scared, worried, and questioning how am I going to do it without them. I will be fighting, and yes, I say fighting, to get any type of support in my classroom from a TLC, from an LEC, or any coordinator for that matter moving forward. This will impact primary teachers the most next year, especially at the K-2 level. But most importantly, it will affect our students who will not have that support, enrichment, and the relationship with those teachers that they've had over the years. So I publicly wanted to make a stance tonight and thank each and every one of those reading teachers for the support that they have given me and all of our students at Valley View. And I ask the members of this board to please get into the classrooms, speak with teachers, and speak with students before voting for issues that come before you. Thank you.
Okay, third issue. Again, along with the specialists, as you can imagine, while there is no contractual violation, as the coordinator positions were created so involuntary transfers cannot transfer into those positions, it was brought to my attention that many of the people hired are not reading specialists as well. So you can understand our frustration, and hearing from a classroom teacher, again, you're hearing one side of the story. So we are asking, as the union, to come into our classrooms, talk to our teachers, and see what is needed to make these kids successful. Now, the third issue I have is middle school block scheduling, which is also on the table for negotiations. A survey was sent out where 50% of the middle school educators responded. Now, I have not been provided with all the logistics or the comments that the teachers had on the survey. I was only provided raw numbers. I asked to see the comments, and I was not given that. I have questions about when, I have questions about careers, and concerns from the middle school teachers is overwhelming. I know that we want social emotional learning for our students. We want time for our case managers to work on IEP management time. We know that our careers are slowly being chipped away, and it all started when the middle school FACS program was eliminated, to which I spoke up to that board meeting in fighting for that. In a world of creative expression, where the food industry is booming, careers with cooking and baking and life skills, and let's just say to have fun in school. I was told, why do kids need to cook and sew? Again, while this is on the table for negotiations, I wanted to put to you in one member's words, as they said to me, I feel that this is jammed down our throats with no projected outcome on how this is going to look. And again, after numerous conversations, we have no clear answers as to how this is going to look. I'd also like to introduce Adam Thoss. He is an art teacher at Jane Addams Middle School, and he would like to talk to you about the impact that it has on careers and as it relates to middle school block scheduling. I would also like to note that when the CEC came in for an audit and block scheduling was put in for students who were behind in reading and math, the voice from the students said that they felt doubly punished because they were taken out of those careers courses and put into these core content classes. I am a teacher. I understand academics. But I'm asking you to take away our schools, moving into institutions, and bring us back into the sanctuaries where we can provide the safe outlets, the fun outlets, the creative outlets that our children need. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd like Adam Thoss to speak on behalf of that.
Thank you very much. I had really wrestled about saying anything today, but I had a teacher today that I was talking to and said, you know what, if it was my program that was being cut by this much, then I'd fight for it too. And so here I am. Not a lot of the middle school teachers are happy about the block scheduling. I know that you'll probably say, hey, you know what, oh yeah, they're saying us, it's fine. Well, you're their bosses and I'm the union rep, and I hear a little bit more honesty out of them sometimes, I think. The only ones who seem evenly mildly excited about it are the math teachers. They're gonna get more time with the kids. They're really excited about that. But I did have an interesting moment with a teacher a couple days ago that was a deer in headlights moment when they realized that they're going to be teaching 7th grade boys math for 80 minutes, the last periods of the day, and they have not had any physical activity all day. Yeah, that's right. We are eliminating PE for middle school every other day. You can talk to the deans about that a little bit more. They're a bit concerned. But yes, there are people who are concerned that their programs are being cut. I know that ELA is a little bit concerned. I know that band has issued some concerns to me, but the biggest ones are coming from careers. To give you a little bit of an idea on how much they're being cut, using my school I'm at right now, Jane Addams, as a reference, a student, 6th grade students entering next year at Jane Addams will be getting 9 weeks of art over 3 years. That's 3 weeks per year. That is a 50% cut in the careers curriculum, the art curriculum, since this year. Now, I will be remiss if I did not mention that I'm getting to see all the kids for the first time since 2011. That's amazing. I'm so happy about that, okay? But if we're comparing that data to 2011, Valley View has cut the middle school art program by 70%. Now, I can't speak for the block schedule and how it's going to impact everybody. I can speak how it's going to affect art in particular. The other day, I sat down and I took a marker and just started Xing out programs, Xing out projects that we were going to do. 50% is a lot of stuff to cut. Back in 2011, 2012, we were asked to increase rigor, and we did. We added math. We added reading. We added elements of every part of the curriculum. Most of those, I'm going to have to cut a lot of that stuff. A 6th grader next year will get 1/4 of art. I'm at the quarter mark right now, and I barely got 3 grades in the grade book. The reason is, now I do deep dives into projects. I take a lot of time to make sure that the kids fundamentally understand what I'm asking, that I can add all of these other things into a project. But the part that stings the most about all this is that the block idea has clearly been pushed through without an understanding of what I or the careers teachers do in the classroom. Had someone sat down with me, I'd tell you that indirectly you are cutting practical math application, language arts, social studies, and science from the middle school curriculum. Example, right now I'm working on a project with my students where they have to draw up blueprints. And with those blueprints, they then have to convert it to the proper ratio, and then they have to order the materials and build what they put down on blueprints. I'm not gonna have enough time for that anymore. I don't. No one asked. The group that got together and discussed the entire block thing had one representative from careers, and that was an applied tech teacher. No band, no music, no art. Asking the applied tech teacher what happens in the art classroom is like asking a science teacher what happens in the art classroom. They are completely different curriculums. They're completely different subjects. I've heard this phrase, I've heard the phrase, all kids get careers now. That's awesome, that's great. Well, your first problem is calling 3 weeks a year any type of careers education. It's not. We've been told that this block plan was to get kids into careers, and it has. But then you cut it by 50%. We've been told that this social emotional aspect in the WIN classes, yet nobody's been told what exactly this is going to look like. Over and over, we've heard that this is about social emotional, getting kids in careers, but the problem is that most of the evidence does not support this. I know what this is about. I've been in this district 17 years. I've been in middle school education. I know what this is about. This is about math, okay? And I get it, okay? We all know it is. Nobody's really said it right directly to us, but we know this is about math, okay? I've spent 17 years teaching. I was just talking to a science teacher today and said, dude, we're always going to take second fiddle to ELA and math. That's the way it goes. The only way to get somebody to really care about something is to put it on a standardized test. I get that, okay? I'm not faulting anybody for that. But before this block proposal, I was working on something with the applied tech teacher, where the kids, over the course of a year, would design and code a video game. They would code the video game with the applied tech, and then they'd come in and we'd code the art part of it. But that's gone. I mean, we can't do that anymore. We don't have enough time. But that's okay. It's just games. It's for fun. Those are the fun things they do in art. But that right there, that belief, is exactly what has got so many of us careers teachers upset. We do math, we do LA, we do science, we do social studies, all while wrapping it up in higher level thinking. But because of the preconceived notions that so many people have of what art is, our curriculum was cut without anyone doing any research or taking the time to know otherwise. I know that so many of you are probably sitting here being like, okay, yeah, great, you got up here, you complained. Well, what are your solutions? And I'll be honest, I got a lot of solutions. If you want to sit down and talk, I could give you solutions for it. But that doesn't change the fundamental problem that I can't get you to care about careers. I can't get you to do that. I can't get everybody else to care about careers. But it should, because I am beyond excited that every kid who walks through the doors at Jane Addams is going to get art. That kid who struggles in math is going to come to me and they are a rock star in art and they are going to feel on top of the world. But unfortunately, when that kid gets there, they're getting 50% less of what they got this year. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. And I'd also like to end on the reduction in force as it relates to the 15 elementary school teachers who were recently lost their jobs as they were told to low enrollment. I received numerous emails that administrators in the buildings have trying to obtain FTEs, and now we are looking at class sizes in the elementary school levels at 30 plus. And for a board who has repeatedly said that they pride themselves on low class sizes, while we have eliminated 15 educator positions, I definitely find that disheartening. And if you'd like to have a conversation on where we can cut some of the budget, I have some great ideas for you. But don't take it out of our classrooms, because that is what's best for kids. I'm open to any meeting. You can email me at any time, but you can understand our frustrations at this point. Are there any questions from the board?
No, I don't, but I've sat here when we riffed 260 people, and that's painful.
It's extremely painful, and we're still feeling the effects of it.
I'm not discounting that, but I'm just telling you, if we have reductions, I think they're thoughtfully done. I don't think they're willy-nilly done, and I'm not defending it, and we will have these conversations with some staff and you guys as well.
We just ask that before something is brought to vote, that we have an opportunity to talk to the classroom teachers and the impact that it has, because I can tell you in real time what I'm seeing in our schools. And it's amazing. And it's really disheartening, again, because a district that's so driven on data pulls a program in less than 7 months, and 5 teachers are without a job.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
Ms. Sharko, one of the things we discussed when we met, I believe, with Ms. Kinder and Dr. Mitchum was having 2 advisories, and we suggested maybe going to only 1 advisory. Mm-hmm. That way we would be able to get those 3 careers in. Mm-hmm. And I think that we need to look at again also.
Yes, I would love to have that conversation. Thank you. Because I think there's a lot more solutions, and you're only hearing one side of the story. Thank you.
I would just like to say that I really appreciate you coming up and letting us know how you feel. I agree. A lot of times I don't know what's going on, and I want to know. So I appreciate that, and I would love to come into the classrooms, and I would love to meet with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple of things briefly. It's not my intention to get in a debate with the union, so I won't address their issues point by point. Suffice to say that clearly Shelley has taken notes, and we can offer, I don't want to say a rebuttal, but a response to some of the things that they brought to the board's attention. Also wanted to make reference, Claudine, that prior to this administration, the procedure of bringing things to information and then action was non-existent. So it's not a policy. It is a procedure that we put in place for the express purpose of allowing the board to have 2 weeks or from one board meeting to the next to be able to ask questions, get into classrooms, discuss the information item. We give them a full 2-week block to be able to do just that. So there are systems in place that will allow for just what you've asked. We are transparent in the expectation that the board members engage anybody whom they feel is necessary to gain information concerning information items. We purposely do not stand in the way of that. So if there was any perception that board members could not engage staff members specific to information items that were brought to them, I want to dispel that. With that said, there have been very, very few instances in which we have had to bring information and action at the same time due to timing. But that is an exception to the rule, not the rule. And in this instance, that was one of those times the board did indicate to us that in the future they would prefer, as we have done in the past, to always present things as information first and then action. So we're not moving away from that. Just at certain times, the schedule or the timing requires that sometimes we have to compress those, and that's probably happened 2, maybe 3 times in the 7 years I've been the superintendent. So we will, for the board, offer a response to what President Sharko and other members have brought to your attention, and you can then decide from there what you feel is appropriate or not. If you have anything to add, you may, Rachel.
I have quite a few things to add. These conversations have been ongoing for several months now. I know Claudine, you, Rachel, we've been a part of many of these conversations together. So like Dr. Mitchum said, I don't think going through point by point is probably in the best interest of time now, but I do want to reinforce that in many of the points that were raised, there are adjustments, but for example, with elementary, we're using those supports differently. We're not removing those supports. We are looking at it from multiple angles, and that decision was not made lightly. So that could also be said for the other points that were raised. They are adjustments and they are changes. They're not done based on one set of data or one opinion or anything of that nature. There's been a lot of thought in planning that has taken place and that continues to take place, and we will be continuing that conversation with you as well, and also listening to input from our educators as well, to make sure that we can make these successful transitions to best support our children.
One last thing, and I apologize. Sitting in this chair with 17,000 students and over 1,700 educators, I can't think of one time, not one time, in which we've made a decision that everybody agreed upon. It just doesn't happen. And so we're going to have those who support. We're going to have those who do not support. And I know that it's been brought to my attention that the concept of best interest of the kids at some point feels as if it's being used as an excuse. But from my perspective, I never use that term as an excuse for anything. And every decision that we make that based on our perception, based on the evidence and the research and the data that the decisions we're making are in the best interest of kids. Trust me, if we could have a full complement of everything that we would like kids to have, we would do that. We absolutely would. But you did make one point, sir, that is true. Our community, the perception of this district in relation to other districts is solely based on when you turn over that school report card at the end of each year. That's how we are assessed. That is not a Jim Mitchum thing. It's not how I'd like things to be looked at. But when you flip over that school report card, people decide what community they want to live in and where they want to spend their resources. That's a significant piece of data that they use. And we have fought very, very hard to have people understand that our district is equally as successful as those around us, despite outcome data, because there are variables that affect that. And so, on the one hand, we could not pay attention to that which we are being assessed, which would, from my perspective, not be wise. On the other hand, we can, with the purpose of ensuring that the perception that people have of Valley View School District as it applies to student growth and achievement is one of quality. And I'm always welcome to listen. As Claudine is aware, we have many conversations to what we might be able to do to facilitate supporting all of our programs. Unfortunately, time is a limitation and money is a limitation. And for me as a superintendent, each year we have to stand in front of this board and justify our results. And they ask questions about whether or not and why our kids are either growing or not growing, either achieving or not achieving. And that's the benchmark for which we have to operate, whether we agree with it or we don't agree with it. But again, with all that said, if we could offer art every day and cooking every day and not compromise the expectation around growth and achievement in the two areas in which every school district in this state is being measured, we would do that. So looking at it from this seat, you might have a different lens than you do now. I understand the lens you're looking at this through, but sitting in the seat of the superintendent and the pressures and stressors placed upon this administration to ensure that we're moving our kids are significant. And so we try to do that to the best of our ability without impacting programs that we value as well. So that's the one thing I take umbrage with, is that because we make decisions, there's a perception that we don't value those things, and that nothing could be further from the truth. Unfortunately, we have limitations in the decisions we make, and it impacts them. Thank you.
A final comment, specific details about the elementary support adjustment were shared at the last board meeting, and that is publicly available. And I just wanted to dispel any misconception that we are removing supports for our elementary learners. They are being targeted differently, but we actually have an increase in the number of staff who will be supporting at the elementary level. They will have designated roles, but it encompasses intervention, enrichment, reading recovery, support for the development of the learning environment, as well as support for strengthening our core instruction through teaching and learning coaches. And so although they are being utilized differently and have some different titles, I just want to dispel any misperception that we are cutting staff from supporting elementary students. And the same thing as it pertains to middle school block scheduling. We shared with all middle school staff on February 23rd that we were having the discussion, early stages in planning of the middle school block schedule. We are looking at allocating the minutes differently, how we use them. We are not lengthening the school day, adjusting the start or end times, but looking how we are adjusting or blocking our minutes together, consolidating those minutes together based on feedback that we had received from a staff survey, as well as a variety of other input from educators and parents regarding their their needs, and there are many, and like Dr. Mitchum said. So I also want to dispel the fact we are not eliminating or cutting any careers or fine arts staff or physical education staff from the middle school at all. And the benefit, and Mr. Thoss did highlight this, is that all students will have access to careers or band during the school day, which they haven't had for years, and that has been feedback that we've heard loud and clear. We do want to provide our students access. The unfortunate reality is that we can't provide all students access and give them access to everything every day, and still do this inside of the constraints that we work with the school day. And so while I'm a great supporter of the arts and all of our elective offerings, I was an elective school teacher myself at one time, or elective areas teacher myself at one time, we know we want our students to have access to those, but unfortunately we can't do that all the time in all areas every day for all of our students. So we are not eliminating anything from the middle school. We are not cutting staff as it pertains to that programming. We are consolidating instructional minutes and providing greater access to all students, many who have not had access. So I do recognize the difficulty that this places on the curriculum and on your love for the arts, just as we have love for our music programs, just as we have love for our band program. We have many people who say they want foreign languages in the middle school. We have the need for applied tech, and so we're trying to balance a lot of demands and at the same time meet demands for increased instructional minutes so that we can have more minutes in math, but also have more minutes to fully engage in our STEM curriculum and in the deeper learning experiences in all of our core curriculum as well. So with every gain, there are often drawbacks, and depending on the lens you look through, sometimes that shines more loudly than others, but I want to just reassure that we are not eliminating staff from those programs, or are we eliminating supports. The addition of or making this adjustment will also allow us to provide support, academic and social emotional, to our students during the school day as well. So the information that was shared with the middle school staff on February 26th, there'll be an update coming out. There are subcommittees that have been meeting to continue the planning in collaboration with the building leaders. This is not done as just a one-person decision or done at the district level. The subcommittee for the Academic Support and SEL Advisory Committee met this past Wednesday and have made some initial steps in planning what that block of time would look like and what supports would be needed. So we have planned to share our initial information with students and with parents the week of April 9th as our building administrators are working through the actual nitty-gritty of how this works out. And the board meeting information will be shared on April 16th. So I just wanted to just stress that this dialogue is continuing, and this is a shared effort in planning and working through the many challenges that are present and working with the constraints we have to continue to evolve and provide the best well-rounded experience for our students that is not only supportive, but also meets the needs in a full scope.
Thank you. Student due process reports.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to ask that the board approve
9.1.
Where are we? Case A as presented, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Member Pero?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Ms. Kinder, middle school math adoptions.
Yes, at the last board meeting, we had many representatives, middle school mathematics educators that presented their research and recommendation for a new middle school math curriculum, illustrative mathematics. And as with any decision we bring before to the board, we did have great input and voice from the educators who drive that recommendation, and I think that was evident at the last board meeting with a very strong showing to seek approval for a math curriculum for middle school effective 2018 and 2019 school year. There is detail provided in the action report that was shared at our last board meeting, and it's been fully vetted by two of our board members, Member Sikora, Member Pero, and through a subcommittee for our academic committee, they had the opportunity to ask questions of mathematics teachers and learn more about the proposed plan.
Motion.
So move.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Pero?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
I think I would like more information. I'm going to vote no.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Mr. Grisafi, what everybody came for tonight.
Yes,
Copier purchases.
Two action reports this evening, right? First one, replacing 9 pieces of equipment whose lease expires this June. We are recommending 6 production copiers with Gordon Flesch and 1 color copier with Impact Networking. The proposed purchase price for all pieces of equipment using a 3-year lease is $343,186. And so the recommendation is to approve the contracts as reviewed and approved by our legal counsel, the copier proposals from Gordon Flesch and Impact Networking.
Motion?
So moved.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? I have one question. I mean, I know we print a lot of documents. What's the lifespan of one of these things? I mean, you get a 5-year maintenance program, but I mean, do we get longer?
I will say that between the 35 and 40 million copies that the print shop puts out in those 5 years, those machines have, we get all the useful life we can out of them.
Okay, I figured. Thank you. Motion and second. Roll call vote would be in order.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Member Pero?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes.
Second action this evening is a recommendation to approve the contract that's been both reviewed and approved by our legal counsel to the lowest qualified bidder for kitchen equipment at J.R. Tibbet, Oakview Elementary, Jamie McGee Elementary, and Brooks Middle School with Trimark Marlin for the amount of $168,300.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? This is part of a rotating program, correct?
Correct. These expenditures have been budgeted as they are annually in the nutrition services budget.
Just an FYI. Thank you. We have a
Gary,
motion.
did we hear about this last time?
Yes.
2 meetings ago?
The information report was presented February 26th.
Okay, I didn't see it in the last one. Thank you.
Motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Pero?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Ms. Hawks?
Thank you, President Quigley. Action Report 12.1 this evening, Consolidated Action Report for Certified and Classified Personnel. We're seeking your approval on 103 items for certified personnel, 38 for classified, 3 for classified administrative personnel, and 4 for certified administrative personnel.
Motion.
So moved.
Motion seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Gilbo?
No.
Member Pero?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes.
Before I move on to my second action report, I would just like to announce that the board has just approved an administrative recommendation. So I'd like Ms. Jennifer Duffy to please stand. You can just stand. You don't have to come up. Jennifer was just approved as the assistant principal at R.C. Hill. She's been with the district for over 12 years, I think. 2 years as a teaching and learning coach, and over 10 years of teaching in the elementary classroom. So we're really excited and happy to welcome her.
Next.
My second action report is 12.2, resolution number 1806, authorizing non-reemployment of part-time teachers and teachers hired under a temporary contract.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Peril?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes.
Action Report 12.3 this evening is Resolution Number 1807, authorizing non-reemployment of part-time and temporary educational support personnel. We're asking the board to approve this.
So move.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Peril?
Yes.
Member Gilbo?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes.
And Action Report 12.4 this evening, this is the Resolution Number 1808, authorizing the honorable dismissal of certified staff. I do just want to mention this is what Ms. Sharko was referring to. It does include 15 elementary that we are having to do a reduction in force. This is due to our class sizes or the enrollment at elementary that has decreased. And as is typical, we do expect at least 50% or more of those to be rehired as we go through the staffing process. And I know that Ms. Sharko had mentioned that she had received reports of class sizes of over 30. That is not a norm for Valley View School District. It has not been a norm for a number of years. There may be a pocket here or there, but I do just want to remind us that last year we had some of these same reports that it came in, and we were able to sit down with the union where we were able to show them our staffing information and to kind of show that the information that they had been hearing was not completely accurate. So Claudine, you know that my door is always open. I'm happy to sit down with you and share those numbers if you want to let us know what buildings that you're hearing from. But I would like to move forward and ask the board to adopt and consider the approval of the resolution authorizing the notice of honorable dismissal for certified personnel.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Gilbo?
No.
Member Peril?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
No.
Vice President Zach?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Dr. Mitchum, information reports.
I believe I have the first information report, 13.1. It is the classified job description. This is for Operations Support Manager. This is for a restructuring within the technology department. So this job description is here for your review. I'd be happy, or Mrs. Welch would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. And we'll be coming back at the April 16th board meeting asking for approval.
Computing device refresh. Who's got that?
That would be me. We are presenting information regarding the proposed purchase of staff laptops to replace computers that are at the end of this school year have been in use for 5 years. According to Gartner, which is an information technology research and advisory company, the standard for current standard is 4.6 years for desktops and 3.7 years for laptops. Excuse me. Optimum PC replacement decisions are based on the operating system functionality and compatibility, which usually equates to 4 years of use. 5-year refreshment cycles are recommended only for fixed function task worker systems. We are proposing that in the future, all staff laptops remain in production for only 4 years, beginning with this year's purchase. We're proposing to replace 835 laptops plus 118 building resource/tech spares for a total of 953 laptops. In addition to that, we are proposing the purchase of 20 additional Chromebook carts needed to fulfill the one-to-one resource allocation in all district 3rd grade and 2nd grade challenge classrooms. It is our goal to bring this to an action report to you on April 16th, our next scheduled board meeting, with the goal, if approval were granted, to complete these projects over the summer before the beginning of the new school year.
Any questions, Mr. Grisapi, on the technology upgrades or replacements? Seeing none, moving down the agenda. Legal Services report.
I have no report, Mr. President.
Thank you. AFT report. Thank you. Valley View Council report. Thank you. Valley View Office Personnel Council report. Apparently no report. Old business before the board? Any new business before the board? Any questions from the public on actions we have taken this evening? Any announcements by the board? From my right.
Would like to wish everybody a happy Easter coming up.
From my left. Any announcements by the administration?
I have one, President Quigley. I'd like to invite the entire community, our parents, our students, our staff to our district-wide college and career event. It is being held on April 5th from 6 to 8 p.m. here at Lukanzik Middle School. That's located at 725 Normantown Road. This is an exciting event to talk about the places our students will go, and gearing up, and no matter the age, to have that conversation about life after high school. We have an exciting guest speaker, a BHS alum, Anthony Heron, who is an NFL player and career sports broadcaster, who will be a guest speaker. And we'll have representatives there to discuss life after high school, including college, technical and trade schools, armed forces careers, and career and entrepreneurship opportunities, as well as how what financial assistance and paying for college looks like. We'll have some exciting raffles, as well as spotlights of our students. So it's an exciting event being held on April 5th, district-wide college and career event here at John Lukanzik Middle School.
What time?
I'm sorry, 6 to 8 p.m.
Thank you. Anybody else from the administration? I had a real quick question. Is there anybody here from Woodview? Yes. Okay, we'll see you after the meeting. Thank you. You know what, real briefly, let me explain. Woodview has a technology program that they're working on. It's an after-school program, and they came to an association called the Hampton Park Social and Athletic Club, of which I am a member. Mr. Zach is a member. I believe Mr. Baduris is a member. Dr. Pascavage is a member. I don't know. Derek, are you a member? Keith Woods is a member. You're not a member. You're just waving. Anyway, they raise money for sports programs and after-school community youth programs. At the meeting last Sunday, the Woodview came and made a presentation, asked for some money, and the SAC Club was happy to make a contribution to the to your program. I honestly don't remember exactly what you're doing, but it sounded fascinating. My hat's off to the SAC Club, and thank you to those members in the community that are members of the SAC Club. They do fantastic work and have been doing it for decades. These are guys who don't want accolades. They just like to help out. And it's a great thing. They meet once a month, and it's just a really nice organization. And they've done hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of community donations to kids who don't always have the money to be a part of a baseball team or a traveling softball team or a basketball team, whatever it is. So it's a very good organization, and thank you guys for coming. Any announcements by the public? Seeing none, adjournment would be in order. Motion and seconded. Thank you all. Have a safe evening. And if you travel one more thing, if you travel for spring break, make sure your flights are not overbooked, because I've been hearing stories from my lovely bride that some of the airlines have been overbooking flights by 30 and 40 people. So get there early. Have a great and safe evening. We stand adjourned.